is, if I have a sword, you trying to get into my garage. You see that? What I'm saying with the sword, you're not going to be able to get past me. But if you do get past me, you get the medicine inside of the garage. You get it?
Hey, Bridge.
But you can't get past me. So then that's how you die. You die because I won't allow you to get the medicine. That is the murder.
You're conflating. You're tripping on your own sword. You're cutting yourself.
You're not even finishing the verse that you're reading.
I quoted it verbatim.
You're stitching the verses
together. Again?
And listen, you're knitting a false fabric, and I'm tearing it apart, bro, with my hands. I'm not using my sword.
Again, I agree that you brought the murder weapon, which is the stone, right? That's fine. You brought the stone, that's one of the murder weapons, but that's an after effect. There was another murder weapon before that.
Listen,
ain't nobody on the planet ever gonna say that a flaming sword is not a murder weapon.
Bridge, I brought 4 witnesses against what you just said. I brought Cain, his hands, the stone, Abel, and his blood. 5. 5. What are you talking about,
Adam, Eve, the devil, and the flaming sword, and the tree of life.
Show me the first murder. I just showed you Genesis 4.
The first murder was this. So let's go back before the flaming sword was introduced. Wasn't there the skins? What was that?
I'm glad you.
Yo, the skins, man. Was that before the flaming sword? Before and after?
Why it was put there.
Correct.
Alright, so y'all don't wanna from a Hindu perspective, they'll say murdering animals is a murder.
Let me ask you a question.
But y'all don't wanna go with that, no problem.
Bridge, do you have children?
No problem.
Bridge, do you have children?
Yeah, bro.
Or do they eat meat?
Yeah.
Alright then, you're a murderer. You're murdering animals.
According to the Hindu perspective, yes.
So then you consider yourself a murderer because you have to feed your family.
No, I just say that that's the Hindu perspective. I'm not going to say I don't agree with them.
Don't leave outside of the Bible. Stay in the square, bro. Why are you running outside the ring?
I'm not going to bring other religion.
You want to switch from boxing to dirt bike racing? Nah, bro. Stay in the ring. Stay in the boxing ring, bro.
I agree. So I agree.
So then, Bridge.
Yo, what up?
Something. If you find yourself in the wilderness and you found an innocent little deer, Bambi, running across the creek, and your kids are starving and they're freezing, you wouldn't go after that deer, my friend, and slaughter that deer?
Hell yeah.
What are you talking about? You think that God the Father, hold on, you think God the Father didn't create this domain of hospitality for his children to roam the earth when you just said it earlier? This domain was created for us, to a habitat. That means that there's hospitality and there's provisions within this realm that was given to us by the Heavenly Father for us to actually consume and eat. So if he had to consume an innocent creature to clothe Adam and Eve, he did it under the aspect of hospitality and taking care of his creation. So there's an understanding behind that. But God did not take
I get you. It's like the indigenous ways. Surely.
All right, then. So then, why we playing this silly game, then, Bridge?
No problem, my friend. I was just pointing it out, see where you were gonna go with it, and I can tell that you don't consider that a murder. No problem.
I don't
No
play
worries.
Sand, Bridge.
So now we're gonna go with the flaming sword as the first murder.
And the funny thing is that your name is Bridge. I don't play on broken bridges either, bro. No.
Hey, let's talk about the fact that he said,
I like that.
The brother said,
What up, Beanie?
hey, what's up, brother, man? How you doing, brother?
What's up, man? What's up? Yeah, we chilling, bro. Just chilling, discussing. Look, we just discussing, y'all, okay?
It's all love.
It's just a discussion. Ain't no, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, of course.
It's all, you know what I mean? Yeah. We just sharing viewpoints. Now, hold up. Now, the Father from the beginning. Clearly, I brought that scripture with John 8:44.
No,
Clearly, I can bring that.
The word
Father from the beginning, y'all.
Hold on.
The beginning was Genesis 1:1.
Bridge, we gotta look at the fact of why the sword.
No, I got that connection. Come on now.
Bridge, real quick, brother. Let me just say this real quick, Bridge. You are saying that the devil is Jesus or God. The sword was put there. It isn't a murder weapon. The sword was put there to stop Adam and Eve from going back into the garden because they were expelled from the garden because they disobeyed what God told them not to do. So that's what was put there because of the fact that they disobeyed. And because when they disobeyed, they became sinful or they had the inclination to sin. not original sin. I don't per se hold to original sin, but the flesh became so weak that it started to promote in itself the sinful nature, the lust of life. So yeah, that time he said he was going to put the flaming sword there, so them being in that sinful fallen nature wouldn't be able to eat from the tree of life and live forever and ever. So that's the point of why the sword was put there, to block them from going back into the Garden of Eden.
Facts, because he didn't want them to live forever. Facts. That would have been after effects.
There were sinful people.
Yeah, we on the same page with that. We on the same page.
Yes, but hear me out on this. They were sinful, fallen creatures. When God made everything, he said it was good. When Adam ate that fruit with Eve, they fell and they became moral or frail people. So God doesn't want them to be frail people living forever. He wants them to be how he created them, living forever.
Yo, here's the thing. If y'all want to destroy my doctrine, and I would like to see it happen, really, I would applaud anybody that can destroy it. Hold up. If y'all can destroy my doctrine, let me tell you the target. All you got to do is prove that the devil didn't lie and said that he was God.
That's the point I wanted to make.
That's the biggest truth.
Bring those scriptures. Go ahead.
You said the first, all right, let me get it. The first one you said is that the first lie was something, but that was not the first lie which you mentioned. The first lie that's mentioned in the Bible is where Satan tells them, you shall not surely die. That was the first lie.
But what was my claim though? My claim is that the devil lied and said he was God. So that is the first lie in the Bible. And that's Genesis chapter 1, verse 1.
Where's the devil speaking, saying, I am God?
He's speaking to the readers.
Where?
Where's
Genesis?
Go tell the verse.
You can only do it on the John 8:44 connected with Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 connected to Genesis chapter 5.
So you got to scramble the whole operating system to create
and then from 3 verse 5 all the way down to 3 verse 7 where they became the eyes of them both were open and they knew that they were naked.
Yeah.
They became like God to know good and evil.
They became frail. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They fell from their perfect good state.
Now, hold up.
Where they were itching to go against God.
Hold up. Now, ready? Now, we all agreeing so far with everything. Now, here we go.
No, we're not.
Here's the thing about it.
We're not.
Here's the thing. All right, hold up. Here's the thing about it. We see that Adam and Eve became like God after they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That means that they were not like God before. Why? Because they did not have the knowledge of good and evil. Simple.
Verse good, brother.
There you go, y'all. That's my breakdown.
They will be like God, knowing something. That's what the verse says. They will be like God, knowing something.
Like God. Not as God.
No problem, like God, no problem, brother. I have no problem with that preposition. Like God, no problem.
Listen, when
No
God
problem, bro.
made man in
Like
his
God,
image and likeness,
They wasn't like God. Perfect.
No. When God made man in his image and likeness, man was as God on earth, my friend. As God. And now the difference is like. Do you know the difference in language?
Okay, yeah, as like, no problem, yep.
All right, then we clear. That's all.
Yep. And like God, now they're like God. Why? Because God also has the knowledge of good and evil.
But you ain't God.
And now they have the same knowledge that God has.
You ain't God, but you ain't. But you are not.
Even the eyes are open like God's are
It's a
open.
former state. No. It's a former state of being. As and like, there's a this formation.
Yep, and I'm addressing the like only right now, not the as.
Prior to the fall, right? So prior to the fall, they were perfect. So there was no evil in their understanding.
As God.
Perfect means that they did not have the knowledge of good, my friend.
The only thing they learned was evil. When they ate the fruit, all they learned was evil.
Wait, hold on. Is that a tree of both good and evil or just evil?
Their whole environment, everything about them was good.
It's
So
both
soon
good
as they
and
ate
Now, here's the thing about it. And a lot of people, they seem to miss this point, but I don't know. I'm gonna point it out real quick. Talking about the before and after. So before, Adam did not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Fact number one, undebatable. That Adam, at one time, he did not eat from that tree of knowledge of good and evil. At one time, Eve did not eat from that tree of knowledge of good and evil. They did not eat from that tree yet. But that was that before, you know what I'm saying?
Were they good at that moment when they didn't eat of that fruit? Were they still in perfect unity with God?
They did not know. I don't know. You know what? That's a good question, and I would answer it with the scripture saying that they did not have the knowledge of good. That's the first point. So to say that they couldn't even say if their God was good or evil, my friend.
He had everything installed when he created them, and everything
specifically address.
Look. So God created something perfectly good. Everything inherently would be good.
Specifically addressing the knowledge. Just stick with the knowledge, like that verse that says, "My people perish for the lack of knowledge." Let's focus on that knowledge point right now. to learn something new. If you learn today, right now, you learned about the knowledge of good and evil. That means you didn't have that knowledge of both good and evil prior to learning it right now.
Yeah, I don't have to be on stage for the game to get to him.
You're everywhere. You're nowhere. You're everywhere, and you're nowhere. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Now you know we're just nowhere and everywhere at the same time.
That's the first point.
The knowledge of good and evil.
Huh?
I like the username, Don't Matter.
Thank you, Anas.
Nice to meet you, brother. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I wanted to ask you whether you could say I'll keep it respectful. Yes, you support Israel.
So how can you
do evil too?
only if you obtain the knowledge of evil also? So both.
Look at this.
Alright, so then who gave them the knowledge of evil?
Perfect,
The serpent.
Wait, hold up. This is a great question. Who gave Adam and Eve the knowledge of evil? Who did that?
Serpent.
Satan.
Excuse me? They ate from the fruit that gave them the power of evil.
It was their choice who gave them that, because when they obeyed the serpent,
That fruit, I said, as soon as they ate it, they obtained the knowledge of evil. Who created that fruit gave the knowledge of evil? I'm going to go to my teacher.
All right, look, if your children, you put a cookie on the table. You tell your children, don't eat that cookie, because if you eat it, you will get ill. Don't eat that cookie. And then here comes next door neighbor kid and says, "Hey, are you really gonna get ill if you eat that cookie? You've never eaten a cookie. How about you give it a bite? How do you know? Hold on.
Ill. You should not surely get ill off that cookie.
Right. And then at that moment, your kids have a choice. So you know what they have the knowledge of? Good and evil. But how do they know? See, they don't know whether or not it's true until they experience the choice. They experience the choice of going against what God had said already. And here's the difference. See, when God speaks, we don't see it. Because when Abraham received the word by faith. He didn't see the word, but he kept the faith as he had seen the invisible one. See, the difference is that Adam heard the voice of God, who told him not to do a certain thing. He passed that word on to his wife, and guess what his wife did? She went to prove whether or not what her husband had said was what God really said. We see this in everyday life. Did God really say that to you? The question part, the curiosity was that opened up that choice for her to go, because in her desire, it says that she saw the fruit was good and pleasant to the eye and good for food. So in her was the desire to actually touch it. What promoted the desire was that misunderstanding, that falsehood that the serpent spilled to her, and she took it as the truth when she already had the truth. The difference between knowledge of good and evil is that one thing could be true or not at the same time. The truth is permanent. What God spoke was permanent. What the serpent said was partial. So then you have to understand which fruit is which now. See, the fruit that she had from the beginning was eternal life, which was the word. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded from the mouth of God. So while they had that word in them, they were going to live not only by the fruit they were eating, but by the word that was sustaining them. When they made that choice to go against that word had to be fulfilled. fulfilled. Surely the day that you eat from it, you shall surely die. And that took effect when they made the choice. At that moment, they knew now for a fact that when God speaks, he ain't joking. Now they have the knowledge of good and evil of their own choices.
Yo, Beanie. Yo, that was Beanie talking, right? Or Kevin?
Bino.
Which one was that?
Bino.
Bino?
Brother, why do you want to call me, man? It's me.
Kevin, I know we talking, right? My bad, man. I was like, y'all both, I thought y'all both mic was off, so I was like, which one was that? Okay, yo, check it out. So, alright, so here's the thing. Again, if I create a tree of knowledge of good and evil, and you eat that fruit, as soon as you eat that fruit that I created, you obtain the knowledge of good and evil from that fruit. How did they learn about evil? They ate the fruit.
By choice.
That's the literal interpretation.
By choice, Bridge. Choice.
Bro, choice or no choice. If the little boy was walking through the backwoods, right, and you said, go pick the spinach, but he grabbed the poison ivy.
Choice.
Right? That's a choice, right?
If we build
That's a
a
choice.
fire to keep us warm
You see
through
what I'm saying? So they had a
build
choice.
a fire, look, Rich, if we build a fire to keep us warm through the nights, and we say, don't touch the fire because you will get burned, and you would have bubbles and blisters and all these things. And you decide that, okay, I'm not going to do it, but then somebody else comes and says, you shall not get bubbles and blisters and boils if you touch the fire. You should touch it and see what happens.
Yes, that's
If you
right.
touch it, listen,
You touch it, you get burned. Third degree.
And if you touch it, Bridge, is it your fault or is it God's fault for making the fire?
It's my fault.
Bridge. It's your fault, exactly.
Accountability.
It's my fault, but at the same time, that I would like to state for the record that was a great breakdown. But we're not talking about fire, though. When it comes to the tree of knowledge, we're talking about knowledge.
Bridge,
The
don't play
opposite
games.
of the word knowledge is the word ignorance. So if you are anti-knowledge, you would say
Any parable fits into that equation. Any parable fits into that
that's like
equation.
a bad thing to say.
Listen, any parable fits into that
Like, I don't
equation.
want you to know what
If you
people-
jump in deep waters
I don't
without a
want
life
you to know.
jacket, you may
You see
potentially
what I'm
die.
going?
Don't do that, Bridge. You're using this argument against the principle. You're arguing against the beginning. That's what you're arguing. The principle is in the beginning. The principle is choice. Okay? That's the principle. Now, if you fail at that principle, it is your choice to fail at the principle. Because any example fits into that paradigm. Because the example that I gave about the kids eating the cookie that was maybe filled with poison, it will make them ill. They still made that choice. The principle fits, Bridge. You're using a circular argument to try to bypass the point that's already established.
But I know why you're bringing up that point, because you want to focus on one word, and that word is disobedience, correct?
Listen, it's not my focus. It is.
But that's your main focus, right? It's talking about the disobedience. That's your whole reason.
You're making a choice to bypass what you already understand. You understand that it is a disobedience. You understand that it's choice.
And he's negating
Exactly.
the fact. He's negating the fact that they disobeyed to say it's God's fault.
Right. I took the red light, but that was the light's fault.
Hold up, y'all. Remember, y'all keep saying that this is God talking to them in the garden. But I'm here to tell you that Adam and Eve, they have no knowledge of good and evil yet, right? And they don't know if that's good talking to them or if that's evil talking to them.
Sure as hell found out.
That right there is what y'all
They found out, didn't they?
gotta check that.
The head brothers found out real quick.
With God. Adam used to be in communion with God in the garden. So he knows God.
Adam was in communion with somebody that he did not know was good or evil yet, because he did not eat up the tree of knowledge of good and evil yet. That's the before and after doctrine.
That's not.
Hell yeah, that's a fire doctrine right there that I'm bringing y'all. That is right there, 5-star. What is that?
Nah, Bruce,
They gonna put that in the Smithsonian Institute on the wall and the gold plaque, all that.
You're the type of dude who plays around with the knowledge.
No, serious, man.
What people think.
Serious, man. Serious, bro.
Serious, Bridge.
We both agree that
and
knowledge is off limits? Do we both agree with that?
Bridge, it's like me telling my kids that the boogeyman exists, and I want to see them running around frantic and scared. That's all you're doing, man. Yeah,
Yo, listen. Do we agree that the word knowledge, right, is something that is off limits? That the reason why God said, example, if God said,
there's no if in God. There's no
if Adam and Eve never ate from the tree of knowledge, they would have been ignorant, right? They would have remained ignorant, and they wouldn't have been like God. You agree?
With your mission of what you believe. But if you are wrong or in error, then it gives you an opportunity to readjust. Either way, you win. And what I see is that these kids are terrified of allowing for their beliefs to be scrutinized. That's all I wanted to say. I think we need to bring that back.
Because they turn into little one-dimensional demons. That's what it comes down to, Pink Pill. They turn into, and I'm not talking about anybody's child in this room, okay? I'm talking about the radical, liberal, kids that were out there protesting, blowing shit up, throwing bricks through Teslas and stuff like that. Despite both of the problems that you guys are experiencing with your children, I can say you're decent people and probably raise children who would not get to that point. But as far as that generation, they're freaking evil. Like, it's gotten to the point where they have no problem. Did you see that video, Jay, of that reporter where she was talking about abortion? I think it was in New York. And the girl got...
Video on it.
Yeah, she literally punched that girl in the face and bloodied up her face just because they had a disagreement. That is what I'm talking about. They become very demonic, very violent, and very entitled. And I don't think that anybody's saying that word out loud. It's the entitlement. Have you guys seen what's happening in San Francisco? The world's largest Bloomingdale closing their stores. Why? Because of all the crime, the robbing, and the looting. Meanwhile, you have people in California trying to take our guns. I'm sorry. Some of y'all have raised children, you've bonded, and all this stuff, but when they become young adults, and they're running up in and out of freaking department stores, knocking people over and stealing people's shit, I'm sorry, some of them need to catch a bullet.
Yeah, that's true. I can't. I live in California. I live in Orange County. We're way different than LA as far as our how we.
I'm from Orange County, born and raised, and I now live in LA.
Nice. We'll move back. But either way, but good to see you. But either way, yeah, man. Parenting. I'm a 13-year-old kid. Like, man, this shit is crazy. There's like really no handbook. My mom went to a Jesuit university, Fordham University. And she is, dude, and I try to parent my son like my mom parented me. I'm married, but I'm the father. And, dude, these kids, and I'm not talking shit about kids, but I'm going to talk shit about kids. They're fucking weak, dude. They're weak as fuck. This social media bullshit that most of them watch, because I'm a coach as well. And so I love kids. I'm with them, spend a lot of time with them. It's just like their brains will work. So what we did is like you have to institute some sort of spiritual philosophy. Sorry, Steve. In these kids' measurement, because there's a moral declination within the school system. I mean, they don't even teach.
Keith, let me ask you.
Hey, guys.
Alan, I got you. Give me a second. I just want to ask you.
Sure.
One quick question. Keith, what sport do you teach?
Football. I'm a former Division I football player.
Oh, nice. So would you have an issue with a female quarterback?
My brother is the head coach for Modern Day girls flag football. They have girls football.
No. I'm talking about girls playing in boys football, because boys shouldn't be playing in girls sports, and girls shouldn't be playing in boys sports.
No. Let a girl play boys football. She's gonna get completely fucking crushed, and then she'll want to play with the girls.
Thank you. Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say to Pink and the other kids who have teenagers, parents who have teenagers. I know it's difficult. I'm still dealing with it. But it is helpful to remind them, and Pink, you were saying you don't know what to say. Try this. I am your mother. I've lived longer than you. I've experienced more life than you. And I've made more sacrifices than you will ever know. And no matter how long you live, I will still have lived longer than you. So I will say and do whatever I need to do to raise you properly. That's number one. Number two, if I think you're thinking in the wrong way, and you're thinking in a way that will not enable you to be a successful adult, because remember, our whole job is to get them from the day they're born to the day they turn 21 or 22. It's to get them to be successful adults. So if I see you doing something that is not going to produce that result, not only am I going to tell you, you are going to stop doing it. Because when you become an adult, nobody's going to care about your feelings. Nobody is going to give you any breaks. And you got to get out into the world and you got to make it on your own. So if you're interested in how you're going to do that, you're going to listen to me because I care about you and I'll still be there when you make a mistake, but no one else will be. Now that's me thinking off the top of my head. But again, the main point is you're a kid, I'm an adult, I know what you need to do to be an adult, and you better listen to me because I'm your parent. So that's my
They're gonna say that's boomer talk. It's too late. Like for me, we grew up in Temecula.
how old is she?
She's 27. She got
All right.
So she got brainwashed during COVID. She was going to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, in Manhattan.
Oh,
One of the top 10 schools, but you know the type of people who are there. So it wasn't that she was taught this. This was not, she had the fundamentals. She grew up in Temecula. It's a red city and a blue city.
Yeah, the whole county's red, pretty much. Riverside. It's pretty.
Okay,
I'm more angry that literally kidnapped my kid's brain. She's supposed to be learning fashion design. Didn't learn that, but then is now an activist. So thank you, FIT, for having us throw $60,000, $30,000 a year away, so that we can have this terrible relationship with our daughter where we're walking on eggshells. I'm so angry.
You should be angry, but let me ask you a question respectfully. Because I'm in New York City, right? And I hate Manhattan. Manhattan is zoof. But you didn't, as a parent, you didn't see signs of this coming as she was there. I'm just curious.
He's an artist, and she's always artists kind of just think differently anyway. She was typical. She never participated in literally no politics at all. Never was activist. Never even spoke about this stuff. When she was at home, we just didn't, just was not talking.
Well, let me ask you a question. Hold on, please. Let me ask you a question, Pink, and then I want to go to Joseph. Oh, she's on the phone. Joseph, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think it's important for a lot of people in what's her name, the Crystalline's position to remember that what I feel like is what motivates kids or draws them to these activist groups. It's a way for them to try to feel some sort of I believe it's a way for them to try to feel some sort of connection to other people socially. It's like it's a social contagion.
Joseph, it's like a cult.
Yeah, exactly.
Credit score.
Yeah, you know what? It's like, you guys remember in college, I used to have those churches that would recruit vulnerable people. It'd be those hotel churches. They had that when I was in college. Would they try to recruit you?
I don't remember,
and let you be part of their church? This is like that.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's indoctrination. But you have to remember that, they're going to be experiencing, the effects that indoctrination is going to end up having in their life as well. Because it's the ways in which that radicalism is hurting the way that they relate to other people. They're going to experience the karmic kickback on that as well eventually. And eventually it might just be hopefully a phase that they go through where they have to fucking learn that, because it's only a matter of time when you hear stories about it all over the internet about people who join these radicalist, cult-like groups, and then it's only a matter of time before they end up getting devoured by that group. You know, because that's just the way that these people think. They're jackals.
Well,
you know.
let me just keep hold on. My children, and I'm sure Pink will fill in. I got you, CEO. Pink will fill us in. My children are my life, right? I'm never gonna give up on them. But one thing I never really wrapped my brain around as I was raising my children was the taste of disappointment that your children are gonna bring you, right? Children, you're setting yourself up for failure if you think your kid's always gonna be successful. But that disappointment, man, that stings a little differently when it's your kids. CEO?
I think a parent never.
Joseph, hold on, Joseph. Get CEO.
Yeah, just gonna make a few points to interject and for the discussion, based on some few things you said. The first part is the parenting. With the way that you guys describe the children of today, somebody said these demonic, devilish, basically hoodlum thieves. It's really interesting to hear all the descriptions of the young kids and what they do. Like these kids are the worst kids in the history of the universe. So, in the spirit of not being victims, as we discuss in politics all the time, I just don't think we should be parental victims. Whereas we need to be responsible adults. And my way of what
Hip-hop stand up, man. Hip-hop stand up, man. That should just have me get a little moment, man. I heard that song and it made me think like, wow, everybody got their own special move, my nigga. Like when I heard that song, I'm like, man, this shit is dope. And it should make us more elite hip-hop listeners, that we can hear film, we can hear old, we hear all these different styles. And I can appreciate Bill. I'm like, damn, I can't do that. But he can. And I know that, nigga. So I think that's dope. I think that's I don't know why I thought about that. That's fire. Yeah, but we gonna keep it going, man. We're gonna get that nigga kid to talk to him, man. That was dope, man. That's our little loop, baby. We all work on our special moves, man. And yeah, I know the special moves is important, man. I ain't gonna lie, that shit was dope, man. Different way with it. Y'all taking different realms of hip hop, and I appreciate that shit from the little kind. All that shit make me a real dope listener, make my pen better, and I can attack different beats, and it's just.
Where though? Like which state?
PA.
That's awesome. I was in New York for a very long time. Now I'm in Florida.
Nice. Where in Florida? You don't mind me asking?
No, not at all. Jacksonville.
Oh, okay. Disneyland.
Kind of. No, that's Orlando.
Jacksonville landed the Gators, huh?
Yes, they did. They won the other night. They won.
All right, thank you, Bartini. Let's give a chance to the comedy, yeah.
Why you cut her off like that?
Yeah, free Palestine from Hamas and liberate all worlds and all lands from all Islamic terrorists. I am complete.
Okay, where are you from, comedy?
I was born inside Uranus.
Which language do you speak?
I speak all languages.
Which language? What's your mother language? I mean, your ethnicity. Your mother language.
You want to know about my mom?
No, your mother language. I mean, how can I say it, man?
Your main language,
Your main language.
Okay.
Comedy.
Well, how to say comedy 1 to 5? Because we want to know.
Comedy 1 through 5. That's how you say it. They kicked me.
Have that knowledge yet of good and evil. That they did not know if that was the devil talking to them in the garden.
They did
because they did not have the knowledge of evil. And there you go.
The serpent.
They didn't know what evil.
Not a parent. You don't know what you're talking about. You're only expecting.
You don't fucking live with me. You're studying on the fucking internet.
Hey, bro. Look, and more than reason why you should lose your shit, right? I mean, where is your emotional intelligence, right?
Because again, when that shit went through my fucking windshield, it was a dumbass parent like you saying some stupid shit without understanding anybody's fucking household is supposed to taking accountability. Take fucking accountability. You sound like one of them lazy ass cats in the buck parents. That may be the fucking problem.
Okay, great. And you yelling at like 10 decimals really got your point across. Good job, dude. Everyone give him a round of applause. Either way, I'll go ahead and listen to CO and then I'll wait for my turn.
Well, let me pivot from that point real quick. So just I'll just make 2 points instead of 3. I just was gonna caution the room about something that I've noticed evolve over the past several political cycles with regards to what I look at as some external forces trying to destabilize the United States. We've gotten into this era where there's not even an aspiration of bipartisanship, right? That we live in a world different than, I'm 54 years old, or whatever it's worth. And I just never seen the United States as contentious in the past few decades as it has been in the past couple of political cycles, where it's these radical left liberals and the MAGA maggot, racists, and there's a nonstop perennial 24-hour cycle between these sites and news where everybody's just talking at each other. There's not even a, hey, let's put this healthcare plan together. Hey, what do you like? You like this? You like that? Or hey, do you like taxes for this bracket or that bracket? It's usually about character and style and who you can drink beer with and who's the toughest person and a bunch of silliness about who's radical this or wokeism. Yeah.
Can I have a dialogue with you respectfully, sir?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and you don't have to answer any of my questions, obviously. What party are you affiliated with? I'm a Democrat.
Let's just go with Democrat.
All right, I'm a Democrat. I've been a Democrat my whole life. I don't say that proudly, by the way.
Yeah, and JD, you didn't hear the beginning of the conversation. Why would you say my point was, JB, we live in a world now where everybody paints the other party with brush, or you're this or you're that, and we're at war. And I just said, at least before, JB, that there used to be an aspirational goal at the very minimum for something to work bipartisan in some regard. But now there's a constant perennial war of words and attacking one another. And it's not really the best of who we are as a country.
Listen, sir, I couldn't agree with you more. That's why I said to Alan earlier, I was like, listen, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I'm calling them to the carpet. Do you know how much smoke I get from friends that are Democrats because I say they're wrong? And what I said to Alan was, how do we get past the problem? Let's discuss the problem civilly with open minds. Listen, I gotta be honest, if you're a good dude, I don't care if you're Democrat, independent, it don't matter to me, I'll roll with you. But we've gotten into this rhetoric in this country of labeling everything and everybody, and I don't want to do labels anymore, sir. I just want to, who are you? What do you bring to the table? Joseph, hold on, please.
All right.
I want to have that dialogue. I want to have, how do we fix it instead of complaining about it constantly? I find that the Democratic Party has become the party of complainers and deflectors. So,
but even with that, if I could, I would challenge you on that. I think there's a lot of complaining and deflecting on both sides, whatever that's worth. I hate using the word both sides. But Trump has always positioned himself as a victim of everything, right? So, and you hear that voice. So I think, to me, it's disingenuous to say it's a Democratic exclusive phenomenon to complain about stuff. Politics is the area where you're complaining because you're talking about what are you doing to repair and fix the challenges with the community, the country, and the government. So that's where you're supposed to complain when we're having political conversations. So my issue isn't the complaints. It's the fact that the ad hominem that acts on character and people and groups.
You said something, I'm sorry to jump in, but I like the dialogue.
There seems to be a problem, which is, how do you see AI converging with
Please don't scroll up my
have created one day, but I have no supporters, so if you have the chance, please subscribe.
Please don't. With tour guides. You can tell your kid, you go down this road, this is what's going to happen. You can go down this road, this is what's going to happen. But you got to let them pick their own roads. And when they fall on those roads, as the parent or tour guide, you're going to be there to pick them up.
Instead of what can you give me and what do I want? Give me. I always think about it like my child, and as a parent, when my child comes to me, so grateful for what I have.
The challenges that this generation of kids have to deal with, man. We didn't have multiple worlds of social media that we had to contend with, and all these emotionalities, and to be honest with you, the threat of having to be introduced to GSAs and stuff in middle schools and these kids have to deal with. I just think they have a lot more problems and challenges that we did.
The kick man. That's pathetic.
That this new generation that's rising is going to receive this knowledge. Do you understand? This knowledge of how this world currently is. They're going to believe that this is the truth. And it's mostly falsehood. And those people who have been on earth long enough, right? We get mad at the Rothschilds and whoever else, these families, 13 families who run the world, right? Because they have the knowledge of good and evil. They're subjecting us, right? Under this covenant, whatever the covenant they made, to try to hold humanity at ransom. Okay? And this is why we need to do what we do, because this scripture testifies of that one who came in his Father's name and stood against the powers to be. And that's the ones whose name is Jesus Christ. And if we live by his example, we're going to go to the brokenhearted, like I said in the beginning, to the weary, to the orphans, to the widows, to those who are incarcerated wrongly, and need this word of redemption for their soul as a lost sheep, as the one who left the 99 to go find the one. That is the duty of us who are spiritual beings and not carnal beings. There's two kinds of people in this world: those who are born of the spirit and those who are born of the flesh. And we have to decide which side of the spectrum we stand on, and that's why this word gives us the light to walk through the valleys of the shadow of death. This word gives us light, is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. Because some of us are not from this realm. Some of us come from a higher dimension, and we're embodied in this world through a word called redemption, and that word allows us to operate to redeem those who need redemption, who need this word of redemption through the Son who fulfilled all things written. That's why we have to do what we have to do.
All right, thank you very much for your viewpoint, and I would like to ask the woman who asked the question. I always say that usually whether a man or woman that asks a question, they already know the answer to their own question. They just want to hear the answer coming from other people to see if they can add to their answer. That's how it usually works with the psychology. But at the same time, Monette, respectfully, do you mind giving your answer?
Hallelujah. Yes, I do. And all praises to the divine.
Also, take your feeling
like
with the
Pelvino said, we are
Also,
spiritual beings. And we are born into this world neither good nor bad, but we are programmed. Even religion itself is a program. It's an idea inspired by the divine, which is all. We are on a journey, each and every one of us, to collect data through experience. And that is why we do not shun anybody for their beliefs, because it is through experience that we gain the wisdom and the knowledge that is needed to leave this realm. I believe that we should not base our reality off of a single book, because wisdom, she has her part in all people. What I mean is that we can learn the divine. What I mean is, it's the story of Adam and Eve, right? None of us were there. We don't know how it went down. All we can do is pray and ask the highest intelligence. What is needed for me to learn?
Is it really true that if you rub a watermelon, it turns out like this? But this girl doesn't believe the video at all, so she also brings a watermelon to test it. She cuts it from the top and brings a machine, places it on the watermelon, wears gloves, and also puts on glasses. After that, she changes her clothes, and as soon as she starts rubbing the watermelon, something happens that she wouldn't expect. Before watching, there's a choice. On one side is a mother, and on the other side is money.
Because I believe, and I'm not saying that none of you people are religious in here, because I actually just fell into this room. I'm not sure, but
Sorry, OG, I'm saying we're getting over.
Basically, to make, I'm gonna digress here soon. Religion is a trap. It's a trap to keep our minds limited. And the Messiah, the one that we call Jesus, like Calvino said, he is an example of the life that we should live in order to make it out of this place. Because earth is a trap. It's a trap. And it's only those with the mind of Christ that will be able to break free from this trap.
Love you on every birthday. Love you.
My God.
So break it down. It's outside of speculation. It's also fundamental. And the reason that we have this manuscript is for that very reason of experience. We can see human behavior in contrast. We can see it. What we think is better. About the ugly, down the left and right. We can see the spectrum of humanity in this positive energy. So we can definitely go into the different realms and different ideologies and spectrums of beliefs. However, any argument found currently, present day 2025, has already taken place over and over and over and over, and we know this. There's nothing new under the sun. So this, that you said, is a level of transcendence and the understanding that is provided by that which has already allowed us to exist, that allows us to then maneuver and navigate this realm of darkness. Because you said it, this realm has become a trap. It's not a trap. It's the whole energy system. There's a system in which people perceive that the system is the thing to attain. And there's a higher thing to attain, which is salvation and the kingdom of heaven. Because if you repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That means that we have to understand that the things that we've been taught and correct, we have to lay them down and turn back the opposite way. So when they tell us to go right, we should go left. When they say go left, we should go right. Because they're telling us the opposite. Just like you have to take that, right? This is where you have to change. The opposite was, do not do what God said. That is the opposite. Or did God really say that 21 buckets of Saturday street because you have to win a choice, and that choice has an exchange in the
Some people still think they're alive.
Because even I love to hear the temptation of Jesus, contractual. When he goes into man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. That's contractual. Bow down and worship me, and I shall give you all the kingdoms of the world. That's contractual. You shall worship God in your heart and in your God alone. Right? No one else. Then the scriptures are used. What is written? That if you shall fall into this flesh, it's written that he shall send his angels so your feet does not stumble upon stone. And the common effect was, it is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. That's why we have this. This book is not just a book. It is spiritually inspired, and that spirit is what we use to wrestle against, not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, like I said earlier, the rulers and the governors of the higher realms. That's why we have this scripture, because it is the sword of the spirit that gives us the understanding, the wisdom, the understanding that your soul system can be extracted. It is not solely there, but it can be extracted from there. Just like when you get a water, doesn't mean that you have the entire spectrum of the ocean in your hands, but you have a source to reference. And the source that we reference is the Spirit of God, which Jesus told us, it is not I who is rich, but my
as far as he can off this skyscraper since his friends bet him $100 he wouldn't do it, but it did not go as planned.
Charlie D'Amelio is currently going viral on TikTok.
I believe they came from. Do you want to go back to your seat? I believe whenever the Tower of Babel fell. Thank you so much. And they had their own languages and they had their own tongues. Thank you so much. Tongues is language, but they had their own language. They had their belief system. They all had the same belief system. Thank you so much. What was the belief system they had?
Do you want to win one of these?
Hold up. Was it Semiramis? Nimrod? And Tammuz? Hold up. A father, a mother, and a son God concept? Oh, why do we see that is like a current? Yeah. So we see there is a trinity that is presented to that is antithetical to the Father, Son, and Spirit. So I agree with Alvin. I do believe as well that all religions came from Babylon, be it all these different religions, be it you went harder or Egyptian beliefs and all these different things. I believe they came from us. But yeah,
Man ordered the same burger every day for 3 years. When the employees discovered why, they called the police. Emily started working at McDonald's. Every day there was a guy who called and ordered a medium-sized cheeseburger. His name was David.
Where we fell at, where we see some others who's strong according to the scriptures. You know the story of Joseph. You see, Joseph, he was basically kidnapped and thrown into a well. And it was sold as a slave. And it went and became the greatest person under Pharaoh. So I think these stories aren't so much allegorical. I think there might be some similarity. But when we look at Genesis, if we look at Genesis and it speaks of a massive flood, and we see the ancient accounts of massive floods throughout the world, not only in Christianity, then possibly there's some relevance to this. But then we look at the Grand Canyon and we see a massive amount of water and erosion occurring, wind erosion. So water erosion and wind erosion occurring. There has to be more than what we are just taking at face value. Are these stories actually allegorical, or could this have possibly been true?
You automatically go into degrading, degradation, demeaning.
You fucking
yeah, well, so is your mother.
Yo, fuck you.
How about that? Okay.
His mother?
Anyways, sorry about that. I shouldn't have did that. Whatever. I'm just totally triggered. Anyways.
10 minutes.
Yeah. So, who said that? Ethan?
No.
Who said that?
Jay said that.
Okay, because Jay's already in the audience. No, I'm talking about. Okay, what I have a problem with is that instead of being inquisitive and, inquiring about what people believe. Alright, Melissa, everybody that interrupts me while I'm talking is going in the audience for time. Sorry.
You know what I noticed, how, and this is a little bit off subject, but I'm going to say it anyway. When we're talking about the rhetoric and the violent politics, there's like 75, 80 people in here. We start talking like real people and real problems, like 40 people walk out the door. Nobody wants to have that conversation. It's amazing to me. They'll watch the car crash, but they won't participate in the real conversations.
No one wants nuance or intelligent conversations on this app. They want people yelling at obscenities to each other. Like that's entertainment, sadly. More nuance the conversation, the smaller the room.
I think it's a sign of everything you guys are talking about, a sign of the times, just the way media is set up right now. Everything is about content production, train wrecks win, and they want to see the argument, the contention, the yelling. That's why you see people jumping on the platform yelling and not having respectable dialogue. I think that's a part of why kids are doing what they're doing. If I could speak to what Holly said really quick. Holly, you said, is there a lack of some version of parenting in households or a lack of voices saying X, Y, and Z? I think it's the opposite. I think there are too many voices. Because if you could think about it, hey, the guy that was on earlier, he said Master Splinter, so I know he was raised in the 80s because he's talking about Teenage Ninja Turtles. I'm 54. So friends at Shazam. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But the point I'm making is that the media that these kids are ingesting now is just so different than what we had to look at. Our parents, if there was somebody around the block that you knew was bad news, parents said, no, you can't go over there. I know his mama and his grandmama, and they ain't shit. You know, you can't go over there, right? But nowadays, and I think somebody else referred to it, I don't know if it was Alan or Keith, but referring to, we don't have a fence or a wall to put up on the internet. These kids literally have so many competing perspectives and thoughts and debauchery that they're intaking, and these young kids don't have the filter to be able to sort through that stuff. For us, we're out riding bikes and playing hopscotch, and we go to church here, and we're reading whatever's in Encyclopedia Britannica. But these kids have an information overload, and they just don't know what or who to believe. And the media back then, you know, if somebody even kissed on a TV show, it was a big deal. Now, all kinds of things are possible. So I just I'm on land here, JB, I'm sorry. But I'm just going to say, with the amount of information that these kids have to filter through to figure out what's right and wrong, I think it's overwhelming for them, man.
I agree with you, Alan. I got you. Give me a second. Sure. So it was about maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, right? Alan, I just got to meet you up because I get feedback. Sorry. TikTok is raising up kids. We were the latchkey kids, CEO. These are the TikTok kids. And this young person went on TikTok and put up a video of Osama bin Laden's manifesto. And bro, this shit blew up like a birthday cake. It was crazy. How many American kids were sitting there crying, saying Osama bin Laden's a hero. He stood up against the war machine of America. And I gotta tell you, bro, seriously, man to man, that's what when I saw that, I said, well, fuck that. This generation's fucked.
Hold on. Yeah, because CO was mentioning a point that I think tangentially, I don't know how much of the responsibility comes back to the parents. I think a lot of parents today are just ill-equipped to deal with how heavily the media infrastructure, like today's media, is optimized for revenue, right? When you look at Gen X, look at millennials, right? These two generations lived through two different media renaissances. The technology was developed and deployed before the business cases really existed, right? I mean, kind of, sort of, with television. I mean, the business case existed, but you didn't, CNN charging people for subscriptions and then not deploying ads, right? Like they had nascent business models, right? And they were getting good information across because at least when Gen Xers were growing up, they had the FCC's right? So they got exposed to tons of different views. I think one view sounded batshit. When it comes to level speaking top of head on the TV, it sounds. It is this that. Shit crazy because you already had access to a ton of information. You got some sense of media literacy as a result. And so then you hear some absolutely insane perspective and you're like, you know what, this is off the wall. I can't really buy this, right? And so Gen Xers, well prepared because they benefited from the fact that they weren't just siphoning down information from one source, every hour. And then millennials benefited from the growth that point we really didn't know how to do anything with it, right? And so people were posting knowledge. People were altruistically sharing. Hackers weren't even hacking things for profit. They were doing it mostly